Most skins are pay to win. They change things about your gameplay that will result in you performing better and maybe even deciding if you can win a round or not. So what are statistically the best skins for each weapon, and as a little bonus later on in the video, how do I even get them for free? But first, what is the best skin for each weapon? Well, to understand which skin is better than the other on, for example, the Vandal, we have to take a look at 4 factors. A skin changes 4 things. The appearance, which is basically all of this, the traces of the bullets, the sounds of the weapon, and animations. Each aspect of a skin got rated a number between 1 and 10 depending on how good they are, resulting in each weapon having 4 quote-unquote best skins. You might be wondering, why didn't I just count them up together and praised one skin instead of 4 as the best skins? And that's because some attributes, for example the model of a gun, most of the time don't change much. If anything, it changes a slight top part of whatnot. If a gun gets rated a 9 on model as it's smaller than other guns, but a 1 on sounds because the shots are super loud, it might end up a better skin than a skin that's slightly bigger for a rating of 2 and with a sound rating of 6, making it in my opinion the better gun, because sounds are more important than the model of the gun. So by giving you 4 winners, you can choose what is most important to you of the 4 ratings. Thus, you can decide which skin you should definitely spend money on or get it for free later. To give you a better understanding on what appearance is better than others, let's take a look at 2 Vandal skins, the Origins Vandal and the Reaver. If we would rate them on appearance, we will have to compare it to the real Vandal, starting with an outline to accurately see which one is bigger. So in this scenario, where I painted the default skin red, the Reaver blue and the Origins green, we notice that the Origins is the biggest, the default second, and the Reaver the smallest. But that isn't the only thing changed of the appearance. Some guns have special effects continuously idling when holding a gun, like the Origins with its rotating circles. I know it's not much and probably won't ever impact the match in a negative way, but on a small chance you might be holding 20 angles at once, waiting for any movement to trigger your reactive response, that small rotating ring will negatively impact your performance. So if we had to rate the appearance on distracting, the Origins would once again be on the lower tier, the Reaver in mid, and the default skin on top, as it's plain and honestly really boring. Finally, we take a look at the scope screen of the skin, which the Origin wins, second the default, and finally the Reaver, concluding that if we had to appoint a winner for which of these 3 is the best Vandal model skin, it would be the default skin, second Reaver, and finally the Origins. Let's move on to the traces of the skin. This part honestly blew my mind, because not all tracer rounds are as long as others. At least, that's what it looks like with the human eye. Not to mention, some tracer rounds are brighter than others. In my opinion, the brighter and more dominant the tracer, the better. As if you really dislike tracers, you can simply remove them with the disable tracer setting in game. So which one of the 3 Vandals has the better tracers? To my surprise, it's actually the default. The Reaver skin has a super thin and also shorter tracer round that are harder to see, while the Origins has a longer and brighter one, but unfortunately super thin tracers. The default on the other hand is thick, bright and long. All the things we could only dream about. Moving on to possibly the most important aspect of a gun, the sounds. Whenever you shoot, reload, inspect and whatnot, your gun makes a sound. If a sound is very loud and obnoxious, you'll have a hell of a lot lower odds of hearing someone approach you from behind. Or in other cases, you might feel easily overwhelmed by the sheer amount of sounds coming from your gun, which might make you feel uncomfortable and, well, overwhelmed. Now, if we do a little throwback to my Are Skins Pay to Win video, I tested whether skins are statistically better than other default sounds by comparing their decibels. Truth is, while testing decibels is a viable method of comparing the audibility of a weapon, it's way better to compare the LUFS, which stands for loudness, units, full scale, to better determine which gun is louder than another. So let's do a little quiz, huh? I'm going to play each version's shooting sounds and I want you to guess which one is quieter than the other versions. At the end, I'll reveal which one is statistically louder, aka worse than the other. Starting with the default. Then the Reaver. And finally, the Origins. Once more in order. Okay, if we put the default shooting on the LUFS meter, we can see it caps at minus 26 LUFS, the Reaver at a whopping minus 27.2 LUFS, and finally the Origins at minus 25.7 LUFS. meaning that the Origins Vandal is the loudest, second the default, and finally the Reaver way quieter. Very nice. Finally, we rate the skins on animations. By animations, I mean when you inspect the gun or reload it, it does something else instead of the regular animation. The Reaver and Origins both have custom animations for reloading, and the Origins even has an extra one for inspecting. Let's have a look at the Origins inspect animation. As opposed to the Reaver and the default version, it has a custom inspect animation where you move the gun to the middle of your screen. This might be beneficial when holding an open angle, where you can be peeked from both left and right side of your screen, as you can now see both sides at once. But then again, you block the vision of the lower middle of your screen. So it can be beneficial, which means I would rate it higher than the default inspect. Reloading the Origins, or even the Reaver in this case, doesn't speed up your reload time, but it does make it all a bit more fancy, which means it could be more distracting. I know, it's such a minor change to a gun which actually looks really cool, but remember that this video is all about cold hard facts. It's 100% true that people play better than usual if they have a cool skin or play on their favorite map, as they will feel more confident and more in their flow. So yes, I am nitpicky about your favorite skin, because maths and all. Alright, now that you understand how I rate the skins, it's time to reveal my calculations, and after that's done, I'll reveal how to get them for free. So let's get started with the classic. I'll just let this part play and highlight and explain where highlights are needed. Also, as a little game between the commenters, comment down below how many statistically best skins you own yourself. To elaborate on the Blast X choice here, it has the best tracers because of the little darts that stay on the wall if it doesn't penetrate it, which might be useful for the newer players. And the best animation is the Origins because of the moving the gun to the middle part. We'll see more of the Blast X and Origins later down the line. Also, fun fact, the suppressed weapons have a grey, thin, hard to see tracer, which means a skinned version is better here. For some reason the Ruination skin here has no base to its shots, which is really odd, but hey, I'm not complaining, I like the gun. For the Phantom, the Champions 2022 Inspect is actually better than the default as you move the skin to the bottom, and when you're running it hides even more of the model. The GURP gun thing has no base when shooting, which seems like a huge oversight to me. And those are statistically the best gun skins in Valorant at this time. Yes, they're fewer. Before you commented, none of the minima skins are smaller than these set models. You can test it if you don't believe me. And before I pass my judgment on the best knife, I want to quickly mention how you can get these and the upcoming best knife for 100% free. Yeah, for real, I'm not kidding, there are two ways. The first one, well, if you paid attention during the video, you might have spotted one of the 5 VP codes I hit up to this point. Oh, you didn't? Don't worry, there is another way to get free skins yourself. Introducing the sponsor of the video, Buff, a program where you get free skins by simply playing games. Click, click, VP codes. I know what you're thinking. What's the catch? No one just gives away free money, right? You're correct. Buff has ads displayed in your Buff launcher that generate revenue for them. And that is all. That revenue is then given back to the community, as there are tons of ways to gain Buff points. You can solely play to passively generate them, but you can do many things to speed it up by, for example, completing fun little challenges. To give you an idea, my weekly challenge is to win 75 rounds and to get 30 assists. By doing this, I get 10 buff points and unlock the second and finally third level, which means I can get an extra weekly total of 70 buffs. On top of that, there are daily challenges, daily rewards, and even a 12 hours of spin the wheel thing for even more buff points. So tons of ways to get your free skins within no time. Which, by the way, only takes 1000 buff points to claim your first gift card. If you are interested in buff or just supporting the channel, consider downloading the application by clicking the link in the description. It's 100% free, and the program even clips highlights for you automatically. How sweet! Oh, and if that wasn't crazy enough, Buff made it so my link gives you 100 buff points instead of 30. And on top of all of that, to give 10 lucky commenters who comment their buff username 1000 points and free premium, which means even more buff points and exclusive gift cards to claim. And yes, it's 100,000% safe. And that's how you can get 100% legit free skins. Knife time. What is the best knife? Well, just like with everything I've said up to this point, it depends on personal preference. I, for example, really enjoy the Reaver's Karambit's aggressive swinging. But if we look at all the facts we spoke about up to this point, the true best knife is the RGX Katana. It's on the bottom of your screen. which means you have nothing blocking the right side where possibly someone could be hiding. Not to mention when running, it dips even lower than usual, which means it just kinda disappears from your screen altogether. Fun fact, usually when falling, your character holds the gun slightly higher than usual to give you the illusion of falling. But with the katana, and I'm pretty confident that this is the only skin where this happens, it dips down instead. Your skin never goes higher than where it is when you're standing still. If you are wondering why this happens, specifically with the katana, it's because Riot doesn't want your arm to block a big portion of your screen. If it were to go up, or in general be more realistic, your view model would roughly be like this instead. Which is just horrible, as our shoulder would take up such a huge part of our screen. Not to mention, you can't even see your knife. So that's why the katana is statistically the best knife by a mile. I've left a link in the comment section to the spreadsheet I made. If you in return want to support the channel, please subscribe, and for the free skins, Buff got you covered.